and good morning, everyone. Welcome to Kindness Rising, your morning dose of hope, humanity, and heart. Welcome again to today's show. I can't believe we're in our third week of Kindness Rising, and we're so excited to be bringing the show to you today again. This week, we have a very special week. As we did last week, we talked about cultural moments. This week, we have a subject matter that's going to carry us all through the week. We're going to be talking about communication. Is it the most important and impactful action that we can perform as humans? Actually, not to get too deep, it's probably built into every part of our natural world, even at the cellular level. But today we'll focus on humans. It flows from us, it's vital to our survival, it gives us meaning, it's the heart of our relationships. Most of the time, we do it without even thinking. But when we add thinking and feeling to it, it becomes mega powerful. It has the power to lift us up and bring us down, the power to heal and the power to destroy. It's in my opinion and backed by research, the most transformative act that we can perform, and it's ubiquitous. Ubiquitous, that's a good word, isn't it? There are many people who are great at it, but no one has ever mastered it. I know I work on it every day. There's different ways to communicate. I'm using communication right now, and we communicate all the time. The great paradox of communication, though, is we're doing it even when we don't want to. Every act that we perform, every moment of interaction that we have has some form of communication. It's eye contact, it's touch, it's the words that we use. Of course, that's what most people think of when we talk about communication. But this week, we're going to talk all about communication. We're going to talk about asking good questions. We're going to talk about having tough conversations. We're going to talk about social media and marketing and the way that we use communication to express our ideas, our visions, our missions as nonprofit organizations. Um, we'll talk about it personally, we'll talk about it professionally, and we're going to talk about the way communication has a power to transform us. It really is every breath we take, we're communicating something to someone, even to ourselves. So, most importantly, we'll be talking about the connection between communication and kindness, and why speaking with kind communication every day in all of our actions really is the key to a successful and happy life. So let's go on a journey together this week about communication. I hope you all will be communicating in the comments and in the stream, and we'll get after it together. I hope there's some great interactions going on, and I welcome all of you again to Kindness Rising, your morning dose of hope, humanity, and heart, brought to you by Mornings in the Lab and the Business Athlete Performance Laboratory Network. So, as we always do, we like to add a little bit of research and context for our conversations. Of course, communication is something we all do. Some of us are very good at it, others are not so good at it. Some of us are great at it in business and in front of people. Some of us are great at it interpersonally, one on one. But really, the key that we're talking about here is the way that communication, and particularly kind communication, is perhaps the most powerful act that we can perform together. So, there is, of course, research, business related research to communication. Great communication has been proven through articles in the International Journal of Management and the Harvard Business Review and all the academic research that's out there, that great communication enables organizational success. It does it through building trust, through respect, and it drives innovation and sparks growth amongst our teams. So we'll be talking about that a lot this week. We'll also be talking about vulnerability in communication, and having the courage to connect with people on a very personal level, which is what really drives the power and the transformation for ourselves and for organizations. As we go throughout the week, I'd like you to think about communication in times you've communicated well or that you've been communicated to well or with well. Communication is always two ways. So we want to make sure that we're always thinking about the fact that even when we're receiving messages, that's part of our communication, and how we respond to that really tells a story. And think about when communication has gone well, what are the key factors, the key things that were part of that communication that made it so strong for you? I know for me, it's when I feel like I'm being respected, when I feel like there's empathy in the room, when I feel like there's real attempt to understand the alternate perspective. It doesn't mean we have to agree. It doesn't mean we can't have really good debate. Actually, good debate is a part of great communication. But what it does mean is that uh, we communicate with intent. We think about our words. We're communicating constantly, right? And some of the time we don't even think about it. It's just happening. It's happened from the start, from day one in our lives. But as adults with emotional intelligence and a little bit of thinking behind it, that's when communication really becomes powerful. So we'll go through our usual agenda here. We're going to talk about some organizations, nonprofit organizations that are leaning into communications, professional businesses, for-profit businesses, some major corporations, some smaller ones, some individuals who've really made communication part of who they are and have transformed and uh, elicited the types of outcomes that we like to seek in business by leaning into communication. So let's move into our kindness spotlight. Today, our spotlight brings us to an organization that was founded in 2006 by a gentleman named Scott Harrison, excuse me. This organization has served over 20 million people worldwide, 186,000 projects across 29 countries. The name of the organization is Charity Water. Of course, we all know the power of water and how important it is to our life. But Scott Harrison and this charity have leaned into communication as the essential part of what makes their organization different. They're focused on radical transparency. 100% of their donations go to projects, things like GPS technology and investing in photography that helps to make sure that that we have fresh water being brought to throughout the world. But more importantly, as they get into and why they've had so much success, has really been about communication. Uh, their motto is the joy of giving because you can. They make it not about guilt, not about trying to make you feel bad about something. Focused on the fact that some of us are blessed with the privilege of having running water. We turn on our taps and water comes out and it's fresh and it's healthy, and we're pretty sure it doesn't have diseases in it. We've had problems with that, we know, but most of the world does not have that kind of access to fresh water when we look at it from a really global perspective. So they're using positive messaging and a narrative approach to help to drive donations and giving that help their mission go. And this concept is used somewhat overly used, but they really lean into storytelling. Stories have the power to move us, to transform us to action, to make us feel something that then, in fact, makes us act. So they use a narrative approach. They tell their stories of how the work that they're doing is impacting people individually and communities at large. They use emotions and community involvement in their stories to really drive the results of the organization. 75% of their funding, and we talked about it, 20 million people served, 186,000 projects huge, very large organization. 75% of their funding comes through digital channels. We're going to talk about that all throughout this week, about social media and communication, and the way that communication has changed for us as businesses and personally. I'm going to talk about something that I'm working on, which I'm calling the Visibility Project. It's my effort to help nonprofits, charities, social impact organizations, and leaders of those organizations develop a personal brand that connects to the world, that drives their mission forward, and really shows all the good work they're doing. So that's I'm leaning into the work that Scott Harrison has done as part of that, as part of the model for what can be successful. Um, and what's beautiful about their stories is they don't just claim it; they prove it. They prove it through stories, through photographs, through videos, through all kinds of uh, social media and the tools and technology that we have today to do that. Scott Harrison is quoted as saying, excuse me, your story is what you have and what you will always have. We all have a story to tell, lessons to learn from each other, for each other. And I am leaning deeply into sharing my story. I did some of that last week. I'm going to continue to do it so that we can all grow together. It's the way we connect in the world, it's just part of who we are. So the lessons that Scott Harrison likes to talk about and that we talk about related to communication are these. We need to respect our audience. The way we respect our audience is with truth. People can see through the fakery and when someone is just being a certain way. I actually had a conversation with my mother about this today, or this weekend, as we were going through. She likes to review my show, and I'm sure she's listening right now. And she talked about the difference when you can tell when somebody is genuinely into what they're talking about versus just reading a script or behaving a certain way to try to elicit a response. We as human beings are intuitive in that way. And so it's really important as we tell our stories that we respect our audience with truth. We want to invite people into the story. We don't just want to blather our story, but we want to ask a question maybe that gets them intriguing, make a controversial or bold statement that gets people listening. We want to focus on empowerment, not guilt. I think that's huge. People do not want to feel that they're being guilted into something or they're being required to do something. They want to be empowered by by the story. They want to lean into. We know when we're communicating and someone is talking to us or working with us, and we are genuinely interested, we physically lean into that story. It draws us in, and we want to do that. And lastly, we want to prove impact and not just claim it. Our stories are what tell what we are able to do, what we have done, and how we can do it again and again. So those are the stories that Scott Harrison shares, the lessons that he shares through his charity, Water. I always encourage people to look these organizations up, to donate when they can. To learn is the most important thing. That's what I do all the time. I'm out there looking at organizations, learning about what they do, learning from negative examples, learning from positive examples. And I'll talk about some of those as the week goes on, and my stories related to that. So thank you very much for listening to the Kindness Spotlight. Check out Charity Water and give if you can. Well, you know, water is the life-sustaining force of all of us, and we want to work together to make sure that globally people have access to fresh, wholesome water to keep us alive. So thanks again for listening to the Kindness Spotlight. I'm going to move on now to our kindness good news. I call it good news because I think it is good news. It is really focused on that business, the business aspect, the for profits, the large organizations, the models that provide us with the model, the models that are the model. So we can all learn from success stories, from from people's journeys, organizations' journeys, on how the impact in business, and take those lessons to our personal lives too. So the title of this episode is the $63 billion secret that changes everything. It's probably not a secret anymore since I've been talking about it for the past 15 minutes or so. But the $63 billion part, that's the hook. This is related to Pepsi. Uh, Pepsi obviously is one of our great brands in the United States. Whether you believe in their product or not, or whether it's something that you want to lean into in terms of the sugars and those kind of things, although they are looking at, they do provide other types of products that fight against that. Um, Back in 2006, Pepsi was struggling as an organization. Struggling is all relative, of course, right? They're a $35 billion organization. To some of us, that might not be that might not necessarily be struggling, but they were struggling. They were struggling with profitability. They were struggling with employee engagement. They were struggling with customer engagement, differentiating themselves as a brand, and really at a point um, uh, of of decision to make how we're going to go about this. At that time, their now former CEO, Indra Nooyi, who led Pepsi through some of their most amazing growth to move that organization from a $35 billion organization to a $63 billion organization, near double growth between 2006 and 2017, attributes that growth to communication. And the biggest secret, it's not that big of a secret, I don't think, but it is what makes the difference. It's honesty. It's honesty. It's respecting your audience. It's knowing that we can tell people the hard truths, and they'll understand, and we can move people from points of pain to points of joy through honest communication. And her mantra, her quote about this is a five-word sentence that I think is really powerful. It says this: "Don't lie to the people." Pretty simple. Don't lie. Just be honest. Give direct feedback. Tell the truth. People can handle the truth. Jack Nicholson in the famous movie A Few Good Men said, "You can't handle the truth, but you can handle the truth." And we can all handle the truth when it's done with respect, when it's done with empathy, when it's done with thinking about where we want to go, what our mission is, how we want to drive growth, how we want to move from that point of pain to the point of joy. People will understand. Pretty simple, I think. Don't lie to the people. I've experienced it myself. I've experienced it myself in organizations where leadership chose to sugarcoat messages, or say things and spin things to a point of basically lie. Um, I have done it myself, I admit, in terms of not necessarily intentionally lying, but realizing that my communication isn't completely forthright. It's leaving things out. It's using words to distract rather than to connect. I've done that. I've also done it the other way, where I've just been completely vulnerable, open, and honest. And I've learned through my own experiences that that's the more powerful way. That's what gets us to the results we want to get to. That's what moved Pepsi from a $35 billion organization to a $63 billion organization, and achieved 162% shareholder return. Pretty powerful numbers. It's what they leaned into at a time of difficulty: respect, honesty, empathy, compassion. I already said honesty, but I'm going to say it again: honesty. So that's the $63 billion secret. Don't lie to the people. Moving on to another story. This is not necessarily from business, although it is big money we're talking about. I'm going to talk about Scott Kelly from NASA. Maybe people know Scott's story. I think it's a pretty popular one out there in the world. But Scott Kelly was the NASA astronaut that spent 340 days in orbit with a Russian cosmonaut. Regardless of the politics of the situation, regardless of the differences in our worlds, they had to come up with ways to communicate with each other. Two people floating around the Earth for almost an entire year, 340 days in orbit, without really the same core language. Of course, they both knew a little bit of each other's language. But Scott talks about transparency and finding shared purpose in the in his communication. What was really cool about Scott's journey, though, too, was that he turned that very private two people in a capsule going around the Earth into a public conversation. He shared messages nearly daily, thanks to the miracle of certain communication that we have to be able to be, again, floating around the Earth and communicating back, engaging in the public, making sure that people knew what was going on in the journey. Um, and that was really cool. And what Scott talks about is leaning into kindness, which is why we're all here. Regardless of those differences, they had to be kind to each other to get that mission accomplished. When they're out there, literally relying on each other for their lives. So that's one other little lesson from the world of a larger world of business. Scott Kelly leaning into kind communication with his cosmonaut partner from Russia, with the world about what was going on in their mission, and basically showing us that kindness can cut through the noise of communication. There's lots of messages out there in the world. We're all inundated with it constantly, but kindness cuts through the noise, building empathy, respect, and compassion with the people that we communicate with verbally and non-verbally, from floating around the world, from in the boardroom, from in our kitchens and our daily lives, talking to our family. That's what makes the difference, is that kindness in communication. And the key is that it's a two-way communication. Someone speaks, we listen, we ask questions. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more throughout the week, a little bit about having tough conversations, about the importance of asking good questions and really listening and responding appropriately, responding, not reacting. We talked about that before. So uh, ultimately, it is the key to our success, is good communication, and good communication starts with kindness. So lean into that kindness in your communication. Think about it on a daily basis as you're communicating throughout the world, and you will continue to see those results. You will continue to help your organizations grow as leaders. So I'm glad to talk about that. Uh, can't believe we've been through 25 minutes of the show already. We're going to move on to that kindness call. I am going to check into the comments, as I always do at this time. I see some of my favorite old familiar names. Mawish Farouk said hi a little while ago. He said, "Say hi to me or else I'm leaving." I hope you didn't leave. I appreciate that you're out there. We always wait till towards the end of the show to share the comments. So stick around for those, and I'll give you a shout out if you want. Please come back if you left us. Lady Drew, always solid, saying good morning, sending great messages, uh, and interacting in the comments. Of course, Adam Holroyd. Good morning, Adam. Happy Monday to you. Be driven, Bernard. It's nice to see everyone here today. Yeah. Uh, so absolutely. Um, yeah, so there's some other interesting comments going on in here related to the use of drugs. I do not do drugs. I'm not on cocaine. Whack sknid. So I don't do that. Um, anyway, silly comments a little bit here in the comments today that really aren't related to what we're talking about, which is communication. Bernard, thank you. You're talking about appreciating these efforts, and that's what this is all about. Not just live, but people coming back and watching the show later on too on YouTube at Kindness Rising, at Matthew Roof, and at Mornings in the Lab. So thank you all very much. I want to move on to the kindness call, of course. Every day, I like to give a little bit of a challenge to our audience, an opportunity to take the lessons and think about what we've done, but just not just think about it, but move from thought to action. Opportunities to transform yourself, opportunities to transform your world through these actions. So today's challenge we're calling the kindness bridge. Of course, communication, that's what it's all about. It's about a bridge. It's connecting point A to point B, person A to person B, and we're going to help to try to build those bridges a little stronger today. So what I want you to do with the kindness challenge today is three things as you're thinking about your communications. We're going to talk more about this throughout the week. The first is leading with curiosity, genuine curiosity, desire to understand, to desire to know how. When you ask somebody how you doing, how you doing, uh, it's not just how you doing, it's how are you doing, how are you really doing. Encourage people to share, listen, respond with empathy and respect. I want you to create a safe place. That's what does create a safe place, that empathy and that respect. It creates a safe place, a judgment free zone. Everyone's got differences in the world. Everyone's got different opinions. Create a judgment free zone, listen and learn. And the last is, with all your communication, you always want to end with some kind of connection. Affirm the relationship. Tell them you appreciate what they shared, that you respect their opinion, even if it's different from yours. That's what makes good communication. That's what's going to encourage it further. So identify people that you want to communicate with and think about those, leading with curiosity, creating a safe place, and ending with connection. And that's the communication that's going to move us all forward. I hope again that you'll share these ideas, share them with each other, share them in the comments when you come back. So thank you. And in our last minute, we're just going to quickly summarize. I think it's pretty clear that I think communication is the most important thing that we can do as human beings. We do it all the time. We do it without thinking sometimes. We want to be thankful. We want to be thankful. We also want to be thoughtful about our communication. Do it with intent. Do it with curiosity. Do it with empathy and respect. The last thing I want to tell you about, I hinted at it a little bit before. Here's my little commercial. Got to have one of those in here, but seriously, I am leaning into communication. That's what I do. It's what I want to do for the world. I want to help nonprofits, charities, and social impact organizations to amplify their voice, to spread their message further. So many people out there that are doing great work, but if it's not heard, it's the old tree falls in the forest thing. So we want to make sure you're heard. So I've started the Visibility Project. If you're interested, let me know. It's a 4-week class with all kinds of tools, templates, opportunities to build a communication plan that truly gets to the heart of your message and communicates it well, and makes social media easy, inexpensive, not overwhelming. It's the way of the world. We all have to lean into it. If you're a nonprofit leader or you know someone, you don't even have to be a nonprofit leader. If you're worried about your personal branding and you want to get your message out there but don't know how to do it, check out the Visibility Project. I'll be sending more information out to the to the community about that. I'm going to start it in September. It's going to be a 4-week class. So please come join me. I'd love to help you learn. I'd learn something along the way too. That's what I love about teaching. This teaching isn't just telling, it's learning yourself. I learned that from my mother, who was a teacher for almost 40 years. And I love doing it. So please help me to help you by joining the Visibility Project. And don't forget to come back and join us every day, 7:30 a.m. on YouTube, at Kindness Rising, at Mornings in the Lab, at Matthew Roof. I hope you enjoyed today's show and you'll stick around for Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Friends. It's going to be a great week talking about communication. And just remember, your words have power. And when you choose kindness, you can change lives. So, as we always sign off, stay uncommon and stay kind. I'll see you real soon.